What's up guys, Sal here. So Pixel 6 and 6 Pro are two of the hottest phones at the moment. I mean, smartphones not made by the likes of Samsung and Apple find themselves competing to capture any sort of attention, some successfully, many others not. But there is no denying that the Pixel 6 Pro is arguably getting the same media coverage and hype as the best devices from Samsung and Apple. The main reason for this is that the Pixel 6 Pro is different from any Google phone that's come before it, from the distinctive new look to the Google-designed Tensor processor that now powers the company's flagship handsets. Speaking of the chip, a lot of us were wondering how the Tensor chip is gonna stack up against the competition from Apple to Samsung to Qualcomm. Well, we finally have some real-life tests to see where it actually stands. We're gonna talk about two tests specifically, one from SpeedTest G to see the raw performance of the chip, and another from PhoneBuff to see the real-life performance, which in the end is what should matter to every one of you. Spoiler, there's a huge difference between the two, and that's because Google is just better at optimization. First, let's take a look at the speed test from SpeedTest G between the Pixel 6 and the Exynos 2100 variant of the Galaxy S21 Ultra. And here are the results. The Pixel 6 performs slightly worse than the S21 Ultra in every segment, and that was kinda expected since Google is using Cortex A76 mid-cores compared to A78 cores on the Exynos 2100. But surprisingly, even after having 20-core GPU compared to 14 on the S21 Ultra, the Pixel 6 still didn't perform well in the GPU test. But like I've said, this test doesn't reflect the real-world performance, it's just to see the raw power of the chipset. But Google is all about software and optimization, and here Google is actually better than Apple. In the PhoneBuff speed test, the Pixel 6 Pro actually performed better in the majority of the apps. The only area where Pixel 6 Pro clearly lost was in video rendering, which to be honest depends on the CPU raw power, so it's not a surprise that Tensor lost there considering the A76 mid-cores. But if you take the rendering part out, because only a fraction of the smartphone user base actually does video editing in phones, then Pixel 6 Pro clearly is better than the iPhone 13 Pro Max in almost all of the day-to-day apps and games. Also note that in PhoneBuff's test, the Android phones had to do double swipes to get to the home screen in certain apps and games, while iPhones usually had to do a single swipe. PhoneBuff should factor those double swipes out to make this a fair test. So considering all of this, we can comfortably say that the Pixel 6 Pro is actually a better device for day-to-day use than the iPhone 13 Pro Max, just because of how well Google has optimized the handset. Google clearly said at the event that raw benchmarks look great on paper, but it's the real-world performance that matters to people, and the Pixel 6 Pro does that better than the competition. Of course, let me know what you think down in the comments, and as always, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.